let's talk about it with our every other hump day buddy, Bret Boone, host of the Bret Boone Podcast, an Odyssey original here on the home of the Rangers via the D&M Leasing Hotline and live on the Fan Cam, Twitch, and YouTube here on Shan RJ and Bobby. Good morning, Bret. How did you take in the All-Star game last night?
Morning, guys. In little doses. I was coming back. I had a golf trip up in Seattle. Well, actually, a charity event, and I came home, and I was in and out. I didn't watch the whole thing in its entirety, but saw Ohtani hit the homer. I wanted to see Skeens how he handled that first inning. Handled it fine, handled it like a champ. I saw the Ohtani homer. Durant hits the homer, ends up winning the MVP. I've watched so many All-Star games, and yeah, I like to tune in, but at this stage, it's kind of it's an exhibition, and I'll take it in pieces.
Did you watch the Derby?
A little bit of the Derby.
How would you spice it up if you feel like it needs to be spiced up? Because we were kind of bored with it.
Hey, here's where I've gone on the Derby. Okay, back in our day when we hit, it was 10 outs. There were a lot less home runs, a lot less action. It was fine. Then they tweaked it, and it got a little bit better. A few years ago, I would say it's really exciting because of the amount of home runs. And I used to think, wow, it puts a lot of pressure on the batting practice guy to throw strikes. Now, I was watching the Derby, and it looks like it's so easy to hit a home run now. It seems like the BP guy is 5 feet away, and it's like a flip to him. There's no batting practice. It's just kind of, here you go. Like I would do to my son because my arm shot. I don't know. It seems like it's gotten really, really easy to hit the home runs. And I see as a fan what you're saying when I'm kind of bored of it. It's kind of the same old. I think years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, when this format was tweaked to the current format, I thought it was exciting, but I'm with you. I'm kind of getting bored. Like I need something else. I need something new. I can't put my finger on it though. I don't know what it is, but I'm with you. It's kind of getting to the point where, okay, we've seen this enough. What are we going to do next?
Bret, when we talk about specifically on the Derby, trying to get people like Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani or get some of those bigger names involved, right, what would move the needle for a player? From your perspective as a player, is it just more prize money? Would it be some other thing that they would get more interested in it? The display or the actual format? What moves the needle for them to want to participate, do you think?
I don't know if there's anything you can do at this stage. It's like $1 million to go out there for a half hour and kind of put on a good showing, and all you're worried about is kind of don't embarrass myself and at least return serve. I don't know. I've never quite understood the mindset of someone that didn't. I think we've talked about this before. I think when you you have such a little short time in this game, you figure that out a little bit more when you retire. But once you're in it, to just appreciate, embrace everything that comes your way as a Major League Baseball player. I think as players, we get caught up in the rut, and it's go, and it's grind, and it's 162 games, and you don't take the time to appreciate what we get to do for a living. Now, as far as the awards, the All-Star games, every All-Star game, and I didn't get to make 9 or 10 All-Star games. I made 3, and every one I cherished. I thought, this is awesome. I got selected at Big League All-Star game. I won a Gold Glove. Wow, that's unbelievable. I get invited to participate in the Home Run Derby, and my attitude wasn't, I've been in a Derby, I don't need to go. No, I'm going to soak in everything I can. And I don't understand the mindset of the guys. Oh, my ankle's a little sore. I'm going to sit this one out. No big deal. And I'm thinking, I don't know. I just can't get into that mindset. For a Derby, I don't care how many Derbies I hit in. You invite me, that's an honor. I'm going. If you're inviting me, that means I move the needle a little bit. I've hit a lot of home runs. I've had a really good first half. So I don't know what the incentive is. More than $1 million? We had nothing when we were hitting participating in the Home Run Derby.
Bret, for the times when you didn't make the All-Star festivities, did you feel that much more refreshed with this time off than when you participated?
I really didn't. I don't buy into the it's going to mess with your swing or I need a break. when you're in the game and you're of that age, yeah, it's a long season, but it's more mentally grueling than physically. Every year, yeah, everybody likes to say when you don't make the All-Star game, yeah, I need these days off. Well, that's because you didn't make it. What else are you going to say? But if it were up to me and I could redo it, I would have got selected every single year of my career, and I wouldn't have worried about being tired. We could be tired when we retire.
Odyssey insider Bret Boone joined us here on 105 through the Fan. One of our baseball insiders suggested maybe moving the mound back. That it's time.
Yes.
That it's time. Yeah, and
wait a minute. You're talking in the actual game?
Perhaps, yeah. Just because the mound's been 60 feet 6 inches for 100 years, and now we're seeing pitchers throwing 10 miles an hour faster at the peak than they were even 15 years ago, right? 20 years ago. And is it just time as the game evolved and the players evolved to the point where it's just harder to keep up, and that's why pitching's so dominant. And you get in the All-Star game, and from the 6th inning on, you're facing elite closers, and it's just very, very hard to score.
You're talking about moving the mound. That's big time to go to that degree. I don't think I'm not ready for it. Here's what I think about this pitching dominant, the hitting, all that. Okay, I think the reason the pitching is becoming more dominant is because of the way we're bringing these hitters up and what we're telling them is important. I think you're getting away from playing the game the way it's supposed to be played. It's all about getting on base, walks, hitting the ball over the wall. And I think it's a horrible approach, and I think it results in low averages. When you're talking about moving the mound back, yeah, I think the velocity is up. Maybe even for my generation, 10, 15 years ago, I'd say it's up probably 2 points across the board, which sounds like a little bit, but it is a lot when it comes to that. This discussion can go so many, depending on who you're talking to. I've had arguments with current players. I've had arguments with my dad. I've had arguments with my generation. And it comes to, here's my layman take. When my grandfather was playing, I'm sure they weren't throwing that hard. I'm sure in my dad's generation, the velocity was up. And my dad probably looked at my grandfather's generation. What, how hard were you guys throwing? 86? I looked at my dad's generation. You go back and you look at the 80s and 70s tape. It's different. It's different. The game evolves. This generation definitely throws. It's the greatest hitters on earth against the greatest pitchers on earth. And it's always been 60 feet, 6 inches. So to change, I don't think it's a big deal for the hitters because they come up in this generation. They've been facing this velocity a little bit more than when I was a kid facing that velocity. So I think it's all relevant in the end. They all train the same. The pitchers are throwing harder. They train a different way. The hitters are bigger, stronger, faster. They train a different way. So I don't know. I don't think I'm ready to move the mound back. That would kind of creep me out.
Bret Boone here on the home of the Rangers via the D&M Leasing Hotline on 105.3 The Fan. All right, let's move it forward now to the second half. The Rangers are 5 back, 7-3 in their last 10, took the Astros series right before the break. Have you altered or changed your mind with the way the Rangers finished out the first half about how they should approach the deadline in the second half?
They're only 5 games out in the division. I think the Rangers' route, if there is going to be a route to the postseason this year, is more division than the wild card. I see a lot of wild card, and the American League wild card's really interesting. With Kansas City being a play, all of a sudden Tampa Bay is 500, and they were dead and gone to me. Minnesota's a good team. Minnesota's someone that I didn't take that serious out of the gate. Minnesota's good. They can pitch. That's a good team. Yankees, they'll rebound. They had a rough run. So what I'm saying is the wild card, a lot of quality there. I look at the Rangers in the wild card. They're 7.5 out, and that's just, I think, too many teams to leapfrog. You now go over to the AL West, where that Seattle Mariner team 3-4 weeks ago had a 10-game lead over the Houston Astros. Mm-hmm. It's down to 1. I've said it since the beginning. I think the AL West is the most vulnerable it's ever been. I think the Rangers have been beat up. The offense isn't even close to what it was a year ago. But then you look at a Carter and a Young and the key, and I think you're all going to agree with it, it's DeGrom. It's DeGrom. You got Scherzer back. He's pitching good. You got Evaldi, who's proven that he's a horse. He's a number one. I think the pitching staff, the starting rotation for the Rangers during the first half with all the injuries that you've had have done a pretty good job. When you talk about Lorenzen and Haney and Gray, and Evaldi's been in and out, on and off the IL. You get Scherzer back. Do you get DeGrom back? And is he the DeGrom we're used to seeing when healthy? If so, this American League West is completely up for grabs. The Rangers easily could do that. I think they have to, at the trading deadline, I think they've got to assess. I think they need some bullpen help. But by no means is this division over.
Brett, is it a case where when you have that situation where you feel like you're teetering on figuring out if you're going to buy or sell, when you have a run like that going into the All-Star break, is it the case where you'll have veterans on the team in these situations kind of go to management and say, like, hey, fight for us a little bit here, like we're having some success? Or do they generally keep those separate from players in the front office?
It all depends. It's on a case-by-case basis. You've got a guy like Bruce Bochy. Believe me, he's going to be having discussions. They're going to be having discussions with him because Bruce has that way about him. He's approachable. Bruce is a guy after the game sitting around having a beer. You'd go to Bruce, go, we need some help. Bruce will talk you through it. I think that Rangers team, if they prove that they can stay somewhat close, I think they're going to be buyers at this stage. You're coming off a World Series championship. You've just got the biggest bite of the apple. That's fresh in your mind. Yeah, it hasn't been a good first half for you, but if they're even relatively close, I don't think they're sellers at all. I think they're buyers to go for it again, which is probably the hardest thing to do in sports, win back-to-back World Series. I just see a lot of positive things on the horizon. You know, Carter's going to start hitting. Young's close to going on a rehab. I was just looking at this yesterday. Bochy's really encouraged, he's saying, with DeGrom's progress at this point. But for me, it all comes down to DeGrom. You get DeGrom, a healthy DeGrom for the second half or a good portion of it. That's a game changer right there. But that bullpen, you need to go out and address that bullpen, which a lot of teams have to. That Seattle Mariner team, they can pitch 1 through 5. They're as good as anybody. Their bullpen, they need a little help, and they've got the worst offense, not only in the American League, in both leagues. Houston, to me, really good offense. I don't know that Verlander's going to be Verlander if pass. He's out with a neck injury. They lost. Who'd they lose at the beginning of the season? Javier. That's a big loss.
They lost.
You still got Valdez. You got Valdez. You got Blanco. Brown. I got to see a little more Brown to think if he's a difference maker. But Houston's going to be there. They need to address some things too if they want to make a run. Them only being one out, they don't have the pitching close to what they had a year ago. But that offense is as formidable as any offense in the American League still. It's going to be an interesting race, a good race. Ranger can stay close. I think that organization goes for it. They become buyers and not sellers. But I think what's great about baseball now and the rule changes 2 months out, man, that gets you strategic. When in the past, it was kind of easy. We got a month to go. There's only 8 playoff spots. We're out of it. It was pretty cut and dry. Nowadays, 12 playoff spots, 2 months out, you got to make a decision. I think it's great from an entertainment value in Major League Baseball.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, brother. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, guys.